Chapter 3592, The Strongest. Oh no! Nine-Sword Demon Master's expression changed drastically. He had already seen Jian Wushuang appear beside him. At the same time, a cold sword light lit up again. It was the Peerless Sword Manual, Star Dream, another Ruler Realm secret technique. Nine-Sword Demon Master was in despair. There was no room for him to struggle. As the sword light passed by, his voice and breath were cut off. His godly sword at the level of top-tier true treasure, the true treasure armor on his body, and his universe ring, they all fell into Jian Wushuang's hands. No wonder it's a top-tier universe treasure. It has a strong murderous aura. It's much stronger than my absolute shadow divine sword. Jian Wushuang looked at the pitch-black divine sword in his hand with interest. After a long while, he raised his head again. However, when he raised his head, he found that Blood Spirit King, Blood Saber Emperor, and Thunderblaze Master had gathered together again. The three of them kept a distance from him and looked at him from afar. In the depths of their eyes, there was a trace of shock and fear. Not only the three of them, but also the Principal's Masters who were watching the battle in the surrounding void were completely silent at this moment. Silence. The whole world was terrifyingly silent. After a while, Blood Saber Emperor was the first to speak, breaking the silence. Blood Sword Master, have you been hiding your strength? Blood Saber Emperor stared at Jian Wushuang. Of course, if I didn't hide my strength, why would you all come to me to kill me? Unfortunately, I'm not strong enough to kill you, so I can only kill two of you. Jian Wushuang said with a faint smile. Hearing this, Blood Saber Emperor fell silent again. At this moment, the hearts of the experts present had already been set ablaze. It should be known that when the 5 experts of the pinnacle of the 6th realm joined hands to kill Jian Wushuang, almost everyone thought that they could most likely take him down. Even if they could not kill him, they could at least force him into a desperate situation. They asked him to honestly tell them everything about his encounter. But the final result completely overturned everyone's understanding. The 5 experts of the pinnacle of the 6th realm attacked at the same time and revealed their strongest strength. But in the end, in the blink of an eye, 2 of the 5 experts of the pinnacle of the 6th realm were killed by Jian Wushuang on the spot. The remaining 3 were also severely injured. The strength that Jian Wushuang displayed in just a moment was too terrifying. His strength and power are obviously stronger than ours. Among the Principal's Masters of the pinnacle of the 6th realm, I'm also good at head-on collisions and competing in power. However, the power that he released in an instant can definitely crush me, Blood Spirit King said in a low voice. And his protective ability is even more terrifying. He completely ignored the strongest attacks of Thunderblaze Master, Nine-Sword Devil Master, and Kuan Master, who were at the pinnacle of the 6th realm. Even when the 3 attacks landed on his body did not even tremble. What kind of terrifying protective ability was this? The true treasure armor on his body is definitely of an extraordinary level. What? It's fine if his power and protective ability are strong, but the key is his absolute art. He actually created a 7th level, which is an absolute art at the ruler realm, and not just one. This is too terrifying. Thunderblaze Master's body was trembling. An absolute art at the level of a 7th level ruler is on a completely different level from a 6th level absolute art. Its power is tens of times or nearly 100 times stronger than an ultimate art at the 6th level. Its basic power is already stronger than ours, and he even created a 7th level absolute art. The power he unleashed in an instant, even if the 5 of us join forces and clash head-on with him, we will definitely be completely crushed by him, Bloodblade Emperor exclaimed. In this territory, many of the experts at the pinnacle of the 6th realm are only one step away from becoming a ruler. However, this step is as difficult as ascending to the heavens. As for the absolute arts at the ruler realm, they are still unattainable by many experts at the pinnacle of the 6th realm. As far as I know, among the many experts at the pinnacle of the 6th realm in this territory, there is only one who has created a level 7 absolute art. Moreover, that person has already disappeared without a trace for 3 million years. It is unknown whether he is still in this territory. However, even the one who created the 7-realm absolute art is only as powerful as us. In other words, if he were to fight against the Bloodsword Master, he would still be no match for the Bloodsword Master. Blood Spirit King, Bloodblade Emperor, and Thunderblaze Master looked at each other with a hint of shock in their eyes. The power of his basic strength was much stronger than that of an ordinary expert at the pinnacle of the Sixth Realm. Moreover, he had created an absolute art at the level of a rank 7 ruler. Not only that, but his strength. He's the strongest. Bloodsword Master is definitely qualified to be called the strongest among the many Principles Masters in our territory. Yes, he is indeed the strongest Principles Master. At least among the countless Principles Masters in this territory, no one is his match. Even those monsters who were supposed to be at the top of the Principles Masters are no match for him. The only one who is stronger than him is a ruler. Blood Spirit King, Bloodsaber Emperor, and Thunderblaze Master did not try to hide their voices. Jian Wushuang was not the only one who heard their words. The many experts who were watching the battle in the surrounding void had also heard them. In an instant, the surrounding void was filled with exclamations. The strongest among the Principles Masters was also the strongest Principles Master. This title was not something that just anyone could have. It was not something that anyone could be sure of. To get the full title, one had to have an incredible battle record. Now, Jian Wushuang had fought alone against 5 experts of the pinnacle of the Sixth Realm. He had killed 2 of them and severely injured 3 of them. This battle record was indeed shocking, and he was qualified to be called the strongest Principles Master. In addition to the comments made by Blood Spirit King, Bloodsaber Emperor, and Thunderblaze Master, many Principles Masters who had lost their lives nodded in agreement. As for Jian Wushuang, he smiled when he heard their conversation. You 3, do you want to continue? Continue? Blood Spirit King, Bloodsaber Emperor, and Thunderblaze Master were shocked, and their bodies also trembled. Previously, the 5 of them were instantly killed by 2 people, and now there were only 3 of them. How could they have the courage to continue attacking? Bloodsword Master, your strength surpasses us, far beyond us. Not to mention the 3 of us now, even if a few more experts at the pinnacle of the Sixth Realm came, they would only be completely crushed by you. Since that's the case, then why are we still fighting for it? Blood Spirit King said directly. Right, the opportunity treasure is originally for those with ability. Since you are so powerful, we naturally don't dare to covet it. Bloodblade Emperor also nodded. Chapter 3593, leaving Blood Spirit King, Bloodsaber Emperor, and Thunderblaze Master all knew that they could not threaten Jian Wushuang at all. It was obviously impossible for them to make Jian Wushuang submit. Therefore, they simply looked at him calmly. Bloodsword Master, although the 3 of us can't threaten you and can't ask you for anything, I still want to ask you to tell us the secret of the Life and Death Realm. After all, the Life and Death Realm is very important, Bloodsaber Emperor said again. His voice was very sincere, and it was indeed a request. Before, they did not only want to know the secret of the Life and Death Realm, but also wanted to know the opportunity that Jian Wushuang had encountered and even claimed it for themselves. But now, they did not dare to have any thoughts about the opportunity that Jian Wushuang had obtained. They only wanted to know the secret of the Life and Death Realm, but they had to look at Jian Wushuang's face and see if he was willing to tell them. Upon hearing the words of Bloodsaber Emperor, Jian Wushuang smiled. He said, "Gentlemen, I didn't lie before. I don't know the secret of the Life and Death Realm. Let me tell you this. I didn't enter the Life and Death Realm before. I went to an unexplored area. In the unexplored area, I mistakenly entered a special space-time. I was trapped in that special space-time for nearly 100,000 years and obtained a certain amount of opportunity. Later, I finally escaped and rushed out along the space passage of the special space-time. I didn't expect to walk out of the Life and Death Realm. Is that so?" Blood Spirit King and the other 2 looked at Jian Wushuang deeply. Although they still had some doubts in their hearts, they did not dare to question him anymore. In that case, we'll take our leave. Blood Spirit King cupped his hands and left first. Bloodsaber Emperor and Thunderblaze Master did not stay any longer and left directly. After all, the 3 of them had suffered some injuries from the collision with Jian Wushuang. Thunderblaze Master, in particular, had lost nearly 70% of his divine power. It was not suitable for him to stay here any longer. The three experts of the pinnacle of the sixth realm had left. The principal's masters, who were not as strong as Jian Wushuang, hesitated for a while before leaving. This was normal. The principal's masters had been staying here because they had some illusions about Jian Wushuang's fortuitous encounter over the years. Even if they could not get Jian Wushuang's fortuitous encounter, at least they had to know the secret of the life and death realm. But from the battle just now, they understood that it was impossible to force Jian Wushuang with strength. What Jian Wushuang was willing to say had already been said, so they could not get anything more. Naturally, there was no point in following Jian Wushuang, so they could only leave. However, they were still shocked and amazed by Jian Wushuang's strength in that battle. After all, they had seen the battle clearly. They all knew that Jian Wushuang's strength was not mixed with any water. He had defeated 5 experts of the pinnacle of the sixth realm, led by Blood Spirit King, and killed 2 of them on the spot. They had heard that Blood Spirit King, Blood Saber Emperor, and Thunderblaze Master were willing to address Jian Wushuang as the strongest among the principal's masters, and the result of the battle was bound to be known by them. It would spread to all the star worlds in the territory. In the void, Jian Wushuang let out a sigh of relief as he watched the principal's masters who had been following him all this time leave. Although he was strong enough to not care about these average principal's masters, he had been watched by so many pairs of eyes. His every move could be said to be known by all the experts in the territory. It did not feel good. Therefore, if he could solve this matter as soon as possible, it would be better to do so. Fortunately, I killed 9 Sword Demon Master and Kuan Master, 2 experts at the pinnacle of the sixth realm. It seems that I still shocked them. After this battle, at least among the principal's masters, there should not be any ignorant people who come to find trouble with me. As for the ruler, a superior ruler realm expert should not be so bored as to bring his status down to find trouble with me, right? Jian Wushuang muttered. He was not worried about the principal's master, but he was worried about being targeted by a ruler realm expert. However, there was no one following him around now. Even if a ruler realm expert really targeted him, it would not be easy to find him again if no one sent a message. He knew that when he arrived at the Wuxin Lake, he would be completely safe once he saw Star Palace Master's good friend. After heaving a sigh of relief, Jian Wushuang was ready to move again, but at this moment, Blood Sword Master! A shout suddenly came from the void beside him. Jian Wushuang turned his head and saw an ugly hunchbacked old man with a ruddy face rushing toward him. Oh, it's Fierce Neon Master. Jian Wushuang smiled and looked polite. After all, Fierce Neon Master was a member of Star Palace. Star Palace was a well-known force in this territory. It had many principal's masters under its command, including some top principal's masters. Jian Wushuang had met Axe One Master, Marquis Duanyu, and the others. Although they were at the highest level of Star Palace, it did not mean that they were the strongest in Star Palace. On the contrary, some of the top experts in the Star Palace were wandering in the 3 battlefields all year round. They did not pay attention to the many things in the Star Palace. For example, Fierce Neon Master was such an expert. His battle strength had reached the pinnacle of the sixth realm. He was extremely outstanding among the experts in the Star Palace. However, after the previous battle, Fierce Neon Master had also seen Jian Wushuang's strength. He naturally understood the gap between Jian Wushuang's strength and Jian Wushuang's. Therefore, when he came to Jian Wushuang, his expression was extremely humble and even had a trace of respect. I'm sorry. There were too many people who were eyeing you. Although I was around, I couldn't help you much, Fierce Neon Master said apologetically. I understand. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. He knew that although Fierce Neon Master was also a member of Star Palace, he did not have much of a relationship with him. In addition, many experts from Star Palace only joined Star Palace for some special purposes and interests. There was no unity at all. Under such circumstances, Fierce Neon Master naturally would not show up to fight with Jian Wushuang. Even if he was willing to show up, his strength could not help Jian Wushuang at all. Chapter 3594, Famous throughout the world. Fierce Neon Master, why are you here? Jian Wushuang looked at Fierce Neon Master. Bloodsword Master, actually, I'm here to ask if this is really the only secret of the life and death realm, Fierce Neon Master said. Of course, The life and death realm is of great importance. If I really knew the secret, I would tell you. But I really only know so much, Zhen Wushuang said. Bloodsword Master, can you tell me about the specific things you did in that special space, for example, the location of that special space-time? Fierce Neon Master asked eagerly. However, upon hearing this, Zhen Wushuang's expression immediately turned cold. Fierce Neon Master, I told you that I entered that special spacetime by accident when I was exploring the unknown region. Since it was an accident, how could I know the specific location of that special spacetime? As for the specific things I encountered in that special space, I'm sorry, but I can't tell you any of my personal secrets. Zhen Wushuang's voice was a little cold, there was even a faint killing intent rising from between his brows. This made Fierce Neon Master's heart skip a beat. He laughed dryly and said, I was too rude. Please forgive me, Bloodsword Master. Fierce Neon Master, if there's nothing else, I'll be on my way, Zhen Wushuang said. Please do. Fierce Neon Master did not dare to stop him and could only watch Zhen Wushuang leave. After Zhen Wushuang left, Fierce Neon Master's expression immediately turned cold. Bloodsword Master was just lucky and got a lucky break. Look at his arrogant look. What does he really think of himself? The strongest principal's master is still just a principal's master. If he meets a ruler, he will still be forced to flee. Fierce Neon Master muttered softly, but his words were filled with bitterness. In this world, there were many people who would turn green with envy whenever they saw someone nice. Fierce Neon Master was one of them. Moreover, Fierce Neon Master was a very selfish person. Previously, he had been chased by a faction and had no choice but to join the Star Palace to seek protection. After entering the Star Palace, he had only used the resources of the Star Palace, he was thinking of ways to plan for himself. As for the matter of the experts from the Star Palace taking care of each other, he was just talking about it. When the time came, he did not care about it at all. This time, he happened to meet Zhen Wushuang, who was targeted by many experts. Although he was an expert from the Star Palace, he was actually also targeting Zhen Wushuang, eager to learn the secrets of the life and death realm from Zhen Wushuang. He was even one of the many experts who coveted the opportunity in Zhen Wushuang's hands. When Zhen Wushuang was besieged, he had no intention of helping him at all. After the battle ended, Zhen Wushuang shocked everyone. When everyone left, he ran over while licking his lips. He wanted to rely on his identity as an expert from Star Palace to get close to Zhen Wushuang and then learn some secrets from Zhen Wushuang. I have to say, Fierce Neon Master's plan is really good. After Zhen Wushuang separated from Fierce Neon Master, a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. He had lived 2 lifetimes and experienced many things. It was not that he had not seen a villain like Fierce Neon Master. He did not want to pay any price and simply relied on his identity as the subordinate of one of the forces. It was wishful thinking to easily learn about the existence of the special space from him and his specific encounter in it. Of course, Zhen Wushuang would not let him get what he wanted. He did know about the existence of the special space, but he would never tell anyone, not even the people closest to him. He did not have any friendship with Fierce Neon Master at all, only a fool would tell him about it. Shaking his head, Zhen Wushuang did not think much about it and continued on his way to Wuxin Lake. While Zhen Wushuang continued on his way, the news of the battle between Zhen Wushuang and the 5 experts of the pinnacle of the 6 realms spread throughout the territory. For a time, the entire territory was shocked. He single-handedly fought against 5 ultimate experts of the 6 realms, including top experts like Blood Spirit King and Bloodsaber Emperor. But in the end, Bloodsword Master defeated them and even killed 3 of them on the spot. How is this possible? I heard that the 5 ultimate experts of the 6 realms fought with all their strength. But in just a moment, Blood Spirit King and Bloodsaber Emperor were forced back by Bloodsword Master, while Thunderblaze Master, 9-Sword Demon Master, and Kuan Master attacked Bloodsword Master with all their strength. But Bloodsword Master's divine body was not affected at all. His protective ability is simply terrifying. From the news, that Bloodsword Master seems to have created an absolute art at the ruler realm. That's true, and it's said that he didn't just create one, he created several absolute arts at the ruler realm at the same time. An absolute art at the ruler realm. I don't think there's anyone in this territory who has created an absolute art at the ruler realm, right? Bloodsword Master is too terrifying. No wonder Blood Spirit King, Bloodsaber Emperor, and Thunderblaze Master recognized him as the most powerful Principles Master. The most powerful Principles Master. Thanks. He hasn't appeared in many years. In this territory, numerous experts from various forces and star worlds were talking about Jian Wushuang crazily. What they were talking about was Jian Wushuang's terrifying strength. However, this strength did not arouse any doubt. After all, Jian Wushuang had a real battle record. Moreover, the fierce battle scene was recorded by the surrounding spectators using the mirror image. Now that it had spread, no one dared to doubt it after seeing the mirror image. Jian Wushuang had defeated 5 experts of the pinnacle of the 6th realm and killed 2 of them on the spot. He deserved the title of the strongest Principles Master. His name resounded throughout the territory. Bloodsword Master, the strongest Principles Master, in the palace of Star Palace. Impossible. How is this possible? When they heard the news from the depths of Devil Smoke Valley, Axe 1 Master, Marquis Duan Yu, Star Saint Master, and 7 Emotions Master were completely stunned. Heavenly Sword Marquis actually defeated 5 experts at the pinnacle of the 6th realm and killed 2 of them on the spot? Axe 1 Master was in a daze. How can Heavenly Sword Marquis be so strong? 7 Emotions Master frowned. He has been missing for nearly 100,000 years. Even if he had obtained a great opportunity during these 100,000 years, his strength shouldn't have increased so ridiculously all of a sudden. Chapter 3595. News: has the Heavenly Sword Marquis made a breakthrough? Star Saint Master suddenly asked. A breakthrough? The surrounding people were shocked. They all knew that Jian Wushuang was only at the Immortal Saint realm. The reason why others thought he was a Principles Master was because he had refined a treasure that could hide his divine power aura. With the strength of a Principles Master, he could not see through it. Before Jian Wushuang disappeared, his battle strength had already reached the 6th realm. If he made a breakthrough and became a Principles Master during these years, his battle strength would reach the strongest level among Principles Masters. It was understandable. However, no, I saw the mirror image of the battle between the Heavenly Sword Marquis and the 5 Blood Spirit Kings. The aura of the Heavenly Sword Marquis in the image is still very ordinary. He should still be using the treasure to hide his aura. If he made a breakthrough, there is no need for him to hide it. In other words, he is indeed still an Immortal Saint, Axe 1 Master said seriously. The Immortal Saint can easily kill someone at the pinnacle of the 6th realm? When the 7 Emotions Master thought of this, he felt as if the world was spinning. Although I don't know what's going on, my little friend Heavenly Sword Marquis already has the strongest strength among the Principles Masters. This is definitely a joyous occasion for us. Marquis Duan Yu said with some excitement. That's right. I was a little puzzled earlier. I don't know why the Palace Master thinks so highly of this Heavenly Sword Marquis. However, I finally understand now. The potential of this Heavenly Sword Marquis is simply too terrifying and unbelievable. His improvement speed is even more shocking. The Immortal Saint is already considered invincible among the Principles Masters. With such strength, I really don't know what will happen when he breaks through to become a Principles Master in the future. Axe 1 Master said while clenching his hands. From the looks of it, if he breaks through to become a Principles Master, his battle prowess will be able to contend against a ruler, Star Saint Master said. Everyone was extremely excited when they heard this. However, the 4 of them quickly calmed down. Previously, I was worried that the Heavenly Sword Marquis would be in danger after being targeted by so many people. However, from the looks of it, I was worried for nothing. With the strength that he has displayed now, there will definitely be no ignorant people among the Principles Masters who will find trouble with him. The only ones who pose a threat to him are probably experts at the ruler realm. However, there aren't many experts at the ruler realm in this territory to begin with. Who would be so bored as to lower their status and attack an Immortal Saint? Axe 1 Master said with a smile. Yes, but we have to be careful. Palace Master's good friend is about to arrive at the Wuxin Lake. As long as he picks up the heavenly sword Marquis and brings him back to the Star Palace, he will be safe, Marquis Duanyu said. When we return to the Star Palace, I want to ask him what he has been through all these years and why his strength has improved so much, Seven Emotions Master snorted. Hearing this, the others also laughed. They were also curious about Jian Wushuang's strength and progress. Therefore, when Jian Wushuang returned safely, they would definitely ask him. One of the three battlefields, Bloodstone Mountain. Bloodstone Mountain was absolutely no less dangerous than Devil Smoke Valley, especially in the depths of Bloodstone Mountain. It was even more dangerous than the depths of Devil Smoke Valley. Therefore, those who dared to wander in the depths of Bloodstone Mountain, usually, the lowest level was an expert at the pinnacle of the sixth realm. On the bloody ground, there were pieces of bloody stones. These bloody stones were extremely hard, and their materials were much harder than many treasures used to forge weapons. And these bloody stones were also the only things in the Bloodstone Mountain that could be trampled on. As for the bloody ground around the bloody stones, it was indeed full of dangers. It was like a swamp. No matter who it was, as long as their body touched the bloody ground, they would immediately be sucked into the land. If it was a ruler realm expert who was swallowed by the blood-colored land, they could still rely on their own tyrannical strength to escape. However, if anyone below the ruler realm fell into the blood-colored land, they would die without a doubt. There was no chance of survival. At this moment, on one of the blood-colored stones in the center of the blood-colored land, a young man with blood-red hair and blood-red robes was sitting cross-legged with a blood-red demonic saber on his back. His gaze was misty, as if he was reminiscing about something. At that moment, a figure charged over from the void not too far away. "Blood Butcher, you're here." The person who came was dressed in a loose long robe and looked very young. When he saw the blood-red robed young man on the blood rock, he immediately revealed a smile. "Heavenly Scar, why are you here?" The blood-red robed young man glanced at the person who came, and his expression was extremely cold. "You are still so cold. No wonder you don't have a single good friend after so many years. Even I can barely be considered half a good friend of yours." The person landed on the bloodstone where the blood-haired youth was, letting out a light breath. The Heavenly Scar Divine Master said, "Blood Butcher, I came here specially to tell you a piece of news." "Speak." The blood-haired blood-robed youth was still as cold as ever. Not too long ago, a major incident occurred in the depths of Devil Smoke Valley. This incident caused a huge commotion among the various powers in this territory. Of course, you have nothing to worry about. You are no longer under any of the powers, and you only have half a good friend like me. If I didn't tell you, you wouldn't have known. The Heavenly Scar Divine Master smiled faintly. The blood-haired, blood-robed youth remained silent, as if he had admitted it. Indeed, this blood-haired, blood-robed youth had no attachments, and he didn't have any good friends. He only knew how to go adventuring by himself, to increase his strength. If one were to ask who was the most uninformed expert who roamed this territory, it would definitely be this blood-haired, blood-robed man, Bloodslaughter Emperor. I have a mirror image here. Take a look for yourself. The Heavenly Scar Divine Master took out a token and handed it to the Bloodslaughter Emperor. The Bloodslaughter Emperor took it and began to browse through it. When he saw the mirror image of 5 experts of the pinnacle of the 6th realm attacking Jian Wushuang at the same time, the Bloodslaughter Emperor was still indifferent at first, and his expression did not change at all. However, when he saw Jian Wushuang attacking, his expression changed immediately. An absolute art at the ruler realm? He narrowed his eyes and focused on the scene. When he finished watching the scene, his expression became extremely excited and his eyes were filled with excitement. He created an absolute art at the ruler realm, and there's more than one. Amazing. He could not help but exclaim in admiration. Thanks. This is the first principles master that your Bloodslaughter Emperor personally said is amazing, right? The Heavenly Scar Divine Master beside him said in a strange manner. Chapter 3596. Bloodslaughter Emperor. The Heavenly Scar Divine Master knew very well who the person in front of him was. The name Bloodslaughter Emperor represented a storm of blood in the 3 great battlefield. He had no attachments and did not even have any good friends. He could be said to be a completely eccentric and unusual person. However, such a person had a terrifying strength that shocked the world. Although he was only a principal's master, but he had once fought 3 pinnacle of the 6th realm head-on with his own strength. Moreover, he had defeated those 3 pinnacle of the 6th realm head-on. He had also killed an expert at the pinnacle of the 6th realm, and it was not just one. Like Blood Spirit King and Bloodblade Emperor, these 2 people could be considered top-notch existences among the pinnacle of the 6th realm. Especially Blood Spirit King, he could be ranked in the top 10 among the many principals masters in this territory. However, Blood Spirit King was far inferior to Bloodslaughter Emperor. Bloodslaughter Emperor was also said to be the strongest principals master a long time ago, but he was not recognized by the public. Most principals masters secretly thought so. However, compared to Jian Wushuang, who had passed the battle result that convinced everyone on the spot was still slightly inferior. However, Bloodslaughter Emperor had not used his full strength for many years. Who knew how strong he was now? When such a super existence saw the battle between Jian Wushuang and Blood Spirit King, he immediately admitted that Jian Wushuang was powerful. Naturally, Heavenly Scar Divine Master would be surprised. Bloodslaughter, who is stronger between you and Bloodsword Master? Heavenly Scar Divine Master asked curiously. It's hard to say. Bloodslaughter Emperor shook his head. He said, from the strength he displayed, he has already created an absolute art at the ruler realm, and there are more than one. The power of that absolute art is also extraordinary. Under normal circumstances, to create an absolute art at the ruler realm, one must have already fused 4 types of laws to become a ruler, or his understanding of the Tao has reached a completely new realm. It is said that many rulers have never reached that realm. The Blood Sword Master clearly belongs to the 2nd category. His understanding of the Tao of the sword has reached a whole new level. Therefore, even though he is only casually using his sword, he is still able to sense it. Although I am relieved, I have yet to reach this level. In other words, in terms of understanding of the Tao and ultimate arts, I am far inferior to him. However, the power I have is much stronger than his. The difference in power alone can make up for a lot of things. Therefore, if I face him head-on now, it's hard to say who will win. Jian Wushuang had Blood Demon Cave Armor, a top-tier universe supreme treasure, which could instantly unleash 10 times the power of experts at the pinnacle of the 6th realm. Therefore, in terms of power, he was much stronger than many experts at the pinnacle of the 6th realm. Even Blood Spirit King and the others were completely crushed by Jian Wushuang in terms of power. Even so, Bloodslaughter Emperor still dared to say that he was much stronger than Jian Wushuang in terms of power, and that he could make up for the gap between him and Jian Wushuang in terms of absolute arts. It was clear how powerful the power of Bloodslaughter Emperor was. However, this was normal. After all, many people knew the true identity of Bloodslaughter Emperor. He was not an ordinary human cultivator, but a special life form. As a special life form, he had a huge innate advantage. After reaching the peak of the 6 realms, he could unleash the strongest power of the Bloodslaughter Emperor with the help of the 7th level will power and some secret skills. The gap between him and a real ruler was not very big. Because of this, before Jian Wushuang's rise, he was regarded as the strongest principal's master by so many people. Bloodslaughter, after this battle, Blood Spirit King, Bloodblade Emperor, and Thunderblaze Master admitted that Bloodsword Master is the strongest principal's master on the spot, and most of the experts in this territory have tacitly agreed. This means that he is above you, Heavenly Scar Divine Master said. Humph, it's just a title of being the strongest. It's not a big deal. Besides, what they said is right. Bloodsword Master is indeed qualified to be called the strongest, Bloodslaughter Emperor said seriously. Heavenly Scar, look at the magic weapon in Bloodsword Master's hand. You should be able to see the level of the magic weapon, right? I can see that it's only a senior universe true treasure. Although it's a top-tier senior universe true treasure, it's still weaker than a top-tier true treasure, said Heavenly Scar Divine Master. That means he can defeat Blood Spirit King and the others with only a senior universe true treasure. It shows how powerful he is. As for fighting with him, it's hard to tell who will win. He only uses a senior universe true treasure as a godly weapon. But with his current power, it'll be easy for him to get a top-tier universe true treasure. Bloodslaughter Emperor smiled. What's more, If the Star Palace behind him is willing to spend some effort to get him a godly sword at the level of a pinnacle universe true treasure, just like my blade, his combat power will definitely increase by a large margin. If I were to face him again, my chances of winning would be less than 30%. Is that so? Heavenly Scar Divine Master raised his eyebrows, and he suddenly understood. He knew that Bloodslaughter Emperor had been alone in the 3 battlefields for a long time and had obtained some opportunities. The level of the true treasure in his hands was also very high. The saber on his back was a pinnacle universe true treasure. As for his body-protecting true treasure armor, it was also at the level of a pinnacle universe true treasure. Previously, Bloodslaughter Emperor said that it was difficult to predict the outcome of the fight with Jian Wushuang because Jian Wushuang only used an advanced universe true treasure as a weapon. If Jian Wushuang got a stronger offensive magic weapon, the odds of victory would naturally lean toward Jian Wushuang. Since you don't care about this reputation of being the strongest and have acknowledged Bloodsword Master's strength, then I have nothing more to say. I'm leaving. Heavenly Scar Divine Master stood up and rushed toward the void beside him. Thank you. Although Bloodslaughter Emperor was cold, he still expressed his gratitude to Heavenly Scar Divine Master today. The Heavenly Scar Divine Master waved his hand and soon disappeared from the Bloodslaughter Emperor's sight. After the Heavenly Scar Divine Master left, the Bloodslaughter Emperor slowly stood up. An unprecedented light flashed in his eyes. Like a bolt of lightning, it directly cut through the sky. The blood-colored demonic saber on his back also trembled slightly, it hummed. The Bloodslaughter Emperor stretched out his hand to grab the hilt of the saber. The corners of his mouth were still muttering, after so many years, there's finally an opponent who can make me excited in this territory. Even you can't help but be excited. Bloodsword Master, I really want to meet him. Chapter 3597. The crisis had arrived in the vast universe. In the boundless dark void, a triangular grey palace was floating casually. Within the palace, 2 figures were leisurely sitting there playing chess and sipping tea. One of these 2 had an old and unkempt face. He was the strongest among the acknowledged Principles Masters in the Divine Beginning realm. He was also the oldest living old monster, Darkbone. As for the other person, he was his good friend, the ruler realm powerhouse, Lifefall King. Darkbone, although the Divine Beginning realm you are in is only a 3rd-grade astral world, the geniuses that are born are truly extraordinary. There was once a Di Shasan who appeared because he obtained a unique opportunity. Later on, he stepped into the origin of the sword universe. His swordsmanship is extremely powerful, and he can even sweep away ordinary rulers. And now, there is a heavenly sword Marquis who also stepped into the origin of the sword universe. He is exactly the same as Di Shasan back then, Lifefall King said. No, he is stronger than Di Shasan. Elder Darkbone laughed leisurely. Di Shasan, although his talent in Sword Dao is unparalleled and is not weaker than the Heavenly Sword Marquis, in other aspects, he is far from being as terrifying as the Heavenly Sword Marquis. Don't forget that the Heavenly Sword Marquis is a perfect creature, and up until now, he is only at the Immortal Saint realm. Immortal Saint? Yes, I forgot that he's only a saint now. Lifefall King also smiled. He glanced at the void next to him. There was a mirror image of Jian Wushuang fighting with Blood Spirit King and the other 3. Among them, the attacks of Thunderblaze Master and the other 2 hit Jian Wushuang. However, Jian Wushuang's divine body was not shaken at all. I can see that he has indeed gotten a great opportunity over the years. He even got a supreme treasure armor. Such a level of supreme treasure armor is extremely precious even for us rulers. Lifefall King was, after all, a super expert at the ruler realm. He could tell at a glance that the reason why Jian Wushuang could release such powerful power and protect his body was because of the supreme treasure armor on his body. This true treasure armor must be a pinnacle true treasure armor, and it might even be the best among pinnacle true treasure armors. A pinnacle true treasure armor was extremely precious in this territory. Even a master realm expert would attach great importance to it, not to mention a Principles Master. After all, most of the rulers in this territory did not have a supreme true treasure, many of them only had pinnacle true treasures. If there were pinnacle true treasure level offensive godly weapons, some of the Principles Masters would have them. For example, Blood Slaughter Emperor had a Pinnacle True Treasure level blade, but Pinnacle True Treasure armors were not owned by Principal's masters. This territory did not have them. After all, even if some great beings had a ruler realm great being as their backer, or even the family members of a ruler realm great being, this ruler would definitely not be able to take out a Pinnacle True Treasure armor to protect his opponent, unless he was lucky enough to get such a treasure. Jian Wushuang was obviously the kind of person who had encountered such a great opportunity. Dark Bone, this little guy has shown great strength. Now he has been recognized as the strongest Principal's master in this territory. His strength is not much weaker than yours. You have to work harder, or this little guy will really catch up to you, Lifefall King said. Ha ha ha. I don't intend to compare myself with this little fellow. Moreover, with his improvement speed, he will surpass me sooner or later. If I were to compete with him now, wouldn't I be looking for trouble? Elder Dark Bone laughed strangely. It's rare for you to be so open-minded. Lifefall King also laughed. The two continued to drink tea. However, if the other experts in this territory heard their conversation, they would definitely be very surprised. Because among the many Principal's masters in this territory, although Elder Darkbone was also very famous and powerful, even stronger than Blood Spirit King, in the minds of most experts, Elder Darkbone should be ranked in the top 5 among all Principal's masters. He could only be ranked in the top 5, not even in the top 3, let alone compared to Blood Slaughter Emperor, who was ranked first, and Jian Wushuang, who was now called the strongest. Everyone thought so. During the conversation between Elder Darkbone and Lifefall King clearly thought that there was still a gap between Jian Wushuang's strength and Elder Darkbone's. Even Elder Darkbone himself did not deny that it was strange. However, since they were talking here, no one around them heard their conversation, so naturally, their conversation could not be spread. In the depths of Devil Smoke Valley, it had been more than a year since the battle between Jian Wushuang and the 5 experts at the pinnacle of the 6th realm. Over the past year, the news of the battle had spread like wildfire. Countless experts from various forces in the astral world knew about it. Everyone knew that in this territory, the most powerful Principal's master was Bloodsword Master. Although the news spread like wildfire in the outside world, as the main character of this matter, Jian Wushuang had been very calm. He had been traveling in the depths of Devil Smoke Valley toward the Wuxin Lake. Because of that battle, no one would pay attention to him now. However, he still had to be careful and return to the Star Palace for a period of time to wait for the news to die down. He could also think of a way to cultivate the first level of the supreme indestructible mystic body that he had obtained in that special spacetime. The supreme indestructible mystic body was an internal star secret art from planet Lingyun. Planet Lingyun was once the overlord of a region in the deepest part of the universe. Its internal star secret art was naturally extremely powerful. As long as he could cultivate the first level, his divine body would be comparable to a primary universe supreme treasure. At that time, with such a divine body and the protective ability of the Blood Demon Cave armor, he would be truly fearless. He would dare to face the Overlord head-on, but now, he was still a little inferior. The supreme imperishable celestial body requires a large number of natural treasures to assist in cultivation. The first level alone requires rare natural treasures. I wonder if the Star Palace has any way to get it. Jian Wushuang muttered to himself. At this moment, he was getting closer and closer to Wuxin Lake. It was less than half a month's journey at most. At this point, Jian Wushuang was slightly relaxed. But at this time, a crisis quietly emerged. Jian Wushuang was originally flying forward, but suddenly, a figure appeared in front of him. This person, looking at the figure in front of him, Jian Wushuang's expression changed. His soul power had been sweeping away while he was traveling. Although his soul power did not cover a wide area, as long as someone appeared in his soul perception range, he could immediately sense it. But the person in front of him was clearly in his soul perception range, but he did not notice it at all. Chapter 3598. The Great Enemy. With my current strength, I can ignore the detection of my soul power and appear in front of me silently. There is only a ruler. Jian Wushuang's expression immediately became extremely solemn. He knew that his experience over the years was a bit strange. It would attract the attention of many experts, and might even attract a ruler realm expert. Therefore, even if he had absolute battle strength that could ignore the principal's master, he did not dare to let his guard down on the way until he was close to the Wuxin Lake. He had just breathed a sigh of relief. He did not expect that big trouble would come at this time. An expert of the ruler realm really came to find him. The ruler in front of him was a tall man. His aura was cold and his expression was extremely cold. Jian Wushuang did not know who the ruler in front of him was, however, he still said respectfully, "Bloodsword greets the ruler. You have good eyesight. You can see that I am the ruler at a glance." The tall man's voice was low, and he had just finished speaking. He, this little guy is recognized as the strongest principal's master in this territory. Of course, he has good eyesight. A bewitching laughter suddenly sounded from behind Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's heart skipped a beat. He immediately turned his head and found a wicked young man in a blood-red cloak floating in the void behind him. He glanced at the tall man. The wicked young man also quietly appeared behind him. This made Jian Wushuang's heart chill. Not only one, but two rulers. Jian Wushuang might not be so worried about one ruler. With his current strength, he should be able to resist one or two rulers. It would not be easy for them to kill him. However, there were two rulers, which put too much pressure on Jian Wushuang. Taking a deep breath, Jian Wushuang asked in a low voice, "How did the two rulers find me?" He did not understand. He had been very careful along the way, and there were no experts around him. The Devil Smoke Valley was so huge that even if there were rulers who had their eyes on him, it would be very difficult to find him, but the two rulers had found him. "Heavenly Sword Marquis, do you think that we can't find you as long as there are no experts around you?" You're underestimating the abilities of a ruler realm expert. To be exact, you're underestimating me. Although the depths of Devil Smoke Valley are vast, it's still very easy for me to find a person. Moreover, I already know your location. As long as I use this location as a starting point to search around, it'll be easier to find you. The demonic youth sneered. Upon hearing this, Jian Wushuang's expression turned cold. "Heavenly Sword Marquis? He called me Heavenly Sword Marquis?" Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. It must be known that he had always considered himself as Blood Sword Master since the beginning of his adventures in the 3 battlefields. As for his identity as Heavenly Sword Marquis, even in Star Palace, only Axe 1 Master, Marquis Du knew, and the others knew about it. As for the Heavy Master, who had first come into contact with Jian Wushuang, none of the other experts knew about it. As for the experts from the various star worlds and forces in the territory outside Star Palace, they naturally did not know about it. Everyone only knew that he was Blood Sword Master, but the 2 masters who had just arrived called him Heavenly Sword Marquis. In an instant, Jian Wushuang understood the identities and origins of the 2 masters. These 2 are the helpers invited by the 3 Saint Realms. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands tightly. After understanding their origins, he no longer felt any sense of luck. Since they were the experts invited by the 3 Saint Realms, no matter what he said or did, they would definitely kill him. After understanding this, Jian Wushuang immediately made a decision. Run. A power of spacetime principles rose from Jian Wushuang's body, and he immediately planned to use spacetime teleportation to escape. Spacetime teleportation, this was Jian Wushuang's life-saving trump card. Because it was his trump card, he had never used it when he was wandering in Devil Smoke Valley. Even though he had been targeted by so many experts and had become a hot potato in the eyes of so many people, he did not want to use this trump card to escape from their sight, because he did not want to expose this move in advance. But now, facing 2 masters, he knew that he had no way to fight them, so he could only use it to escape. However, as soon as he activated the power of the spacetime principles, a powerful spacetime power that made him feel suffocated instantly filled the entire world, covering the vast world around him. The spacetime imprisonment took shape in an instant. Moreover, the strength of the spacetime imprisonment was beyond Jian Wushuang's imagination. Although his understanding of the spacetime principles was not low, he could break the ordinary spacetime imprisonment with the help of the heavenly golden banner. He could break it directly. However, The spacetime imprisonment that he was facing now was hundreds of times stronger than the ordinary spacetime imprisonment. It was the first time he had seen such a powerful time-space restriction. We already know your background, and we also know that you have mastered time-space teleportation. Unfortunately, your time-space teleportation is useless in front of me. The evil-looking young man smiled faintly. This man is a ruler realm expert who is good at time-space principles. Jian Wushuang immediately looked at the evil-looking young man. A strange look flashed in his eyes, but in the next moment, he suddenly rushed toward the void to the side, and his speed reached its peak. He knew very well that the time and space restriction could only restrict him from using time and space teleportation, but it did not mean that he could not continue to escape. However, just as Jian Wushuang moved, a tall figure blocked in front of him. So fast. Jian Wushuang was shocked. He tried to escape as fast as he could, but the tall man was already in front of him after only 2 steps. His speed was not something he could compare to. Don't struggle, just die. The tall man stared at Jian Wushuang with cold eyes. A large amount of silver light surged on his right hand, forming a huge silver claw that rushed out like lightning. The void was almost torn apart. The power of a ruler was undoubtedly displayed at this moment. Jian Wushuang's pupils shrank when he saw the silver claw coming at him. Blood light surged on his body, and the power of the blood demon cave armor, which was 10 times stronger than the pinnacle of the 6th realm, burst out instantly. At the same time, the life divine power and heaven-cleaving skill were also displayed at this moment. Chapter 3599, Strength of a Ruler Buzz. With a faint sword hum, a pitch-black divine sword appeared in Jian Wushuang's hand. This pitch-black divine sword was the one Jian Wushuang had obtained after killing 9-sword demon master. It was called Black Prison, and it was on the way to Wuxin Lake. With a top-tier universe supreme treasure, the power of Jian Wushuang's attack could be enhanced to another level. Whoosh! A violent blood-red sword shadow swept across the area. After it took shape, it turned into a burning purple flame and instantly covered the area. It was Jian Wushuang's most powerful ultimate skill, which had reached the advanced level of the 7th level, Starfire Burning Sun. Jian Wushuang did not dare to take any chances against an expert at the ruler realm. In an instant, he completely unleashed his strongest power. Bang! A clear cracking sound rang out. When the silver claw and the sword shadow came into contact, their powers immediately collided, tearing a crack in space. A terrifying devouring power was created from the crack, devouring all the power in the surroundings. Jian Wushuang's body shook violently, and then he shot out in a sorry state. It took him a long time to regain his balance. So powerful. I have instantly unleashed my strongest strength, even using my life divine power and heaven-cleaving skill at the same time. He obviously did not use all of his strength, but I was still completely crushed by him. An expert at the ruler realm is too terrifying. Jian Wushuang's heart trembled. What he did not know was that the tall man who was fighting with him was even more shocked at this moment. My palm is slightly numb. The tall man glanced at his palm. He could clearly sense how powerful Jian Wushuang's sword attack was. That sword attack had completely exceeded the scope of the principal's master and was close to the ruler realm. He also recognized the level 7 advanced absolute art that Jian Wushuang had used at a glance. He's only at the level of a saint. The tall man was an expert at the level of a ruler. He could tell at a glance that Jian Wushuang's true realm was still that of an immortal saint. How could a saint's battle strength be close to that of a ruler? This caused the killing intent in the tall man's heart to rise to a whole new level. Luo, suppress him, the tall man said coldly. No problem. The evil-looking young man smiled indifferently. With a thought, the spacetime power, which had been confined and frozen, surged toward Jian Wushuang like a tsunami. An unprecedented spacetime power pressed on Jian Wushuang's body. This kind of pressure, Jian Wushuang's face changed dramatically. It was not that he had never used time and space pressure on others, but the time and space pressure exerted by the evil-looking young man was many times stronger than his. With his almost invincible battle strength among the principal's masters, he could not move under the pressure of time and space. Yes, he could not move at all. Even when the tall man appeared in front of him again, and the silver claw was stronger and more dazzling than before, he could not resist at all. Whoosh! The silver claw directly tore at Jian Wushuang's divine body, trying to tear it in half. However, Jian Wushuang's body was protected by the Blood Demon Cave Armor, which was a top-tier Universe Supreme treasure. An attack at the ruler realm naturally could not tear it apart. However, the silver claw still left 5 huge white marks on the Blood Demon Cave Armor. At the same time, the shocking power of the claw was greatly weakened by the Blood Demon Cave Armor. A part of it still rushed into Jian Wushuang's divine body. Humph! Jian Wushuang grunted and retreated again. Supreme Universe Treasure Armor? The tall man looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. He knew the power of his claw. He could kill an ordinary principal's master in an instant, but now, he could see it, Jian Wushuang was not seriously injured. He immediately understood that Jian Wushuang was wearing a Supreme Universe True Treasure armor of an extraordinary quality. As expected of a ruler. The Blood Demon Cave armor did not disappoint me. Even a ruler realm attack could weaken more than 90% of its power, so I only lost 1% of my divine power. Jian Wushuang was secretly happy. His divine power was vast, far beyond that of the principal's masters. In addition, the Blood Demon Cave armor's protective ability was indeed powerful. Therefore, even if he took the attack head-on from the tall man, he still only lost 1% of his divine power. However, do not underestimate this 1%. With his divine power, this 1% of divine power was more than the entire divine power of many principal's masters. After the power of the tall man's claw was weakened by the Blood Demon Cave armor, it showed how terrifying his strength was. If I knew this kid had the protection of a pinnacle Universe True Treasure armor, I would have brought that thing with me, the tall man said coldly, but it doesn't matter. I just need a little more time. As soon as he finished his words, the tall man attacked again, but Jian Wushuang's pupils suddenly shrank. He knew very well that his body protection ability was good, but he could not ignore the tall man's attack. Perhaps the tall man could only destroy 1% of his divine power in one attack, but he knew clearly that an expert at the ruler realm, how fast could he attack? One attack could destroy 1% of his divine power, so 100 attacks would be enough to kill him. I can't fight him. I have to escape. Jian Wushuang bit his lip and turned his head, shooting toward the young man behind him. The black hell divine sword in his hand emitted a cold light, and the sword light pointed toward the young man. Oh, you want to find a way out from me? The young man smiled when he saw this. He still stood there quietly without any intention to attack. However, the moment he looked at Jian Wushuang, boom! The boundless power of the space-time principles was like a terrifying wave that rushed toward Jian Wushuang. The terrifying space-time impact almost suffocated Jian Wushuang. He could not get close to the young man. However, in the face of such an impact, Jian Wushuang's mouth curled into a strange smile that was difficult to notice. A token had appeared on his left hand. This token was the life-saving token given to him by Temporal Temple Master. Now, the token had been crushed by his fingers. Chapter 3600, Traces of Time and Space A? The young man with a strange smile finally changed his expression when he saw the token in Jian Wushuang's hand. What a cunning boy! He deliberately pretended to fight with me in close combat so that I could use the suppression of time and space, but he secretly prepared a way to escape. The young man narrowed his eyes. Under normal circumstances, if Jian Wushuang wanted to do something, such as crushing the token, he would not be able to escape from his eyes. However, he could completely crush the token before Jian Wushuang did. Jian Wushuang could not move due to the pressure of the spacetime power, so his token could not be crushed. However, he had already used the spacetime impact, which allowed Jian Wushuang to find a gap. Bang! As soon as the token broke, the surrounding void shook and a vast spacetime power suddenly swept up. For a time, the spacetime rule power around Jian Wushuang was blocked. Even under the impact of the spacetime power from the token, the spacetime restriction in the void immediately loosened, a little bit. The spacetime means contained in the token seems to be quite extraordinary. Looking at the void in front of him, the evil-looking young man waved his hand, and instantly, the endless power of spacetime was once again pressed crazily. However, His speed was still a bit slower, because the spacetime around Jian Wushuang had been torn apart. The appearance of this gap, it gave Jian Wushuang the opportunity to escape. Buzz. Jian Wushuang's figure flashed, and he used the spacetime teleportation and disappeared in an instant. Seeing Jian Wushuang disappear, the demonic youth's face immediately darkened. Luo, you let a little guy at the saint level escape under your eyes. You have lost a lot of face. The tall man walked over. Humph, he can't escape. A trace of coldness flashed in the eyes of the demonic youth. Then, he waved his hand again, and the space where Jian Wushuang had disappeared immediately stirred up a trace of spacetime fluctuation. The spacetime fluctuation became stronger and stronger. Finally, it formed a space gap. Let's go. The demonic youth and the tall man directly flew into the space gap and disappeared in the blink of an eye. In the void that was a certain distance away, whoosh, Jian Wushuang quietly appeared and looked at the surrounding void. He was slightly relieved. Fortunately, the Temporal Temple Master gave me a protective order talisman. This protective order talisman can not only ensure my safety in the divine beginning realm, but I can also rely on it to escape from the pursuit of a ruler realm expert in the universe battlefield. Jian Wushuang murmured softly. He was very grateful to Temporal Temple Master. He knew very well that if Temporal Temple Master had not given him the life-saving token, he would not have survived the two ruler realm experts. It's a pity that I only have one life-saving token. If I use it this time, I won't be able to escape from such a situation next time. Jian Wushuang sighed and prepared to rush toward Wuxin Lake from another direction. He had teleported to his current location, which was not too far away from Wuxin Lake. However, just as Jian Wushuang was about to leave, buzz, the void behind him began to tremble violently. What? Jian Wushuang's expression suddenly changed, and he immediately looked toward the void. As a result, he saw that the void behind him directly cracked, and a small spacetime crack appeared, followed by two whooshing noises. Two figures stepped out of the small spacetime crack. They were the two masters who had surrounded him. How is this possible? Seeing the tall man and the evil-looking young man appear in front of him again, Jian Wushuang's face turned extremely ugly. Humph, Heavenly Sword Marquis, I didn't expect you to have such a life-saving talisman. If I'm not wrong, it must have been given to you by the Temporal Temple Master of the Divine Beginning Realm. The evil-looking young man sneered. I've heard of the Temporal Temple Master before. I thought he was just a master who had some ability in time and space. But judging from the life-saving talisman he gave you, his understanding of time and space is indeed very high. I guess he is no less than me. Unfortunately, although he gave you the life-saving talisman, he only let you break through my time and space shackles to let you escape. But your understanding of the principles of time and space is too low. You don't know how to erase your time and space traces, so I can catch up with you based on the time and space traces you left behind. Time and space traces? Jian Wushuang's body trembled. He had underestimated a ruler realm expert, especially a ruler who was very good at time and space like the demonic young man. For a ruler of this level, even if you had used time and space teleportation to leave, as long as you left behind a time and space trace, he could follow you. Jian Wushuang's understanding of time-space was obviously not at that level, and he did not know how to completely erase his time-space trace. Now, the two rulers had caught up with him again, but he did not have a second life-saving command talisman. Can I only fight for my life? Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes slightly. The more he was in a crisis, the calmer he appeared. Although he did not have a second life-saving command token, he still had some trump cards in his hands. With these trump cards, he still had a chance to struggle. Why don't you give up? Do you still want to struggle? The young man sneered. However, just as the young man was about to control the power of time and space to press down on Jian Wushuang again, without any warning, the power of the spacetime principles in the void completely froze. Heh! The young man's expression changed, and he looked up at the void in front of him. There, an old man with silver-white hair and a grey robe was slowly walking over. His steps were slow, but each step contained a special mystery. Every step he took resonated with the surrounding space and time. An expert at the level of a ruler joined hands to bully a little guy from our temporal temple. Isn't this a little inappropriate? A deep voice came out of the silver-haired elder's mouth and reverberated in the void. The silver-haired elder had already arrived beside Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang was overjoyed when he saw him. Temple Master. Jian Wushuang immediately bowed. Temple Master, of course, was the temporal Temple Master. Chapter 3601. Escape. Little guy, are you okay? Temporal Temple Master looked at Jian Wushuang. I'm fine, but I've already used the life-saving command talisman you gave me, Jian Wushuang said. That's good. As for the life-saving command talisman, I only gave it to you in the divine beginning realm, but in the universe battlefield, it can't completely protect you from death. Moreover, you're facing a ruler who specializes in space-time techniques. Temporal Temple Master smiled slightly, then, he looked at the two people in front of him. The two of you should be from Devil Cloud Star, right? I wonder if that Devil Cloud Star Master is doing well? The Temporal Temple Master asked. My Star Master has great strength. Naturally, he's doing very well. You're the Temporal Temple Master from the divine beginning realm? It seems that you're just a low-level ruler. The tall man stared at the Temporal Temple Master. There was a hint of disdain between his brows. Rulers had different levels of power. A low-grade ruler was at the bottom of the rulers. Even though the tall man and the devilish young man were only at the low-grade ruler realm, the two of them had great backgrounds and had seen many things. They were also extremely powerful. An ordinary low-grade ruler would naturally not take them to heart. I know that I'm not strong enough. However, this place is no longer the territory of the Devil Cloud Star. Can the two of you give me some face and call it a day? The Temporal Temple Master said. Call it a day? Temporal Temple Master, you really know how to joke. The tall man's voice was cold. Although you didn't participate in the battle in the divine beginning realm, you already know the reason behind it. Since that's the case, you should know the purpose of our trip. If you know what's good for you, you should just get lost. Otherwise, you should know the consequences. Of course, I know the consequences. However, this little guy is still a member of our temporal temple. Right now, he's right under my nose. As the Temple Master, I can't just ignore this little guy, said the Temporal Temple Master. If that's the case, then you should die together with him. The tall man's aura was cold, and a shocking killing intent had already burst out from his body. Temporal Temple Master, in that battle back then, you were able to keep your life because you hid far away. However, since you want to intervene today, then there's no need for your temporal temple to exist anymore. The demonic youth said in a low voice. Haha. The Temporal Temple Master suddenly laughed. The two of you are overestimating yourselves. Although this old man is only a primary ruler and doesn't have the confidence to win against any of you one-on-one, if this old man wants to leave, I'm afraid the two of you won't be able to stop this old man. Really? The young man's eyes turned cold, and the surrounding void instantly froze. The entire space-time had completely stopped flowing, and everything had stopped moving. Standing in the void, Jian Wushuang could clearly sense the changes in the surrounding space-time, and he was immediately shocked. What a terrifying space-time technique. This man didn't even use his full strength before, Jian Wushuang exclaimed. He knew that if the evil-looking young man had used this technique from the beginning, he would not have been able to crush the life-saving talisman. However, in the face of such a space-time technique, the Temporal Temple Master just smiled and waved his hand. Like a spring breeze, the space-time around him began to revolve again, and the speed was increasing. The area was also growing larger and larger. In just an instant, the space-time power of this world was completely under the control of Temporal Temple Master. How is this possible? The demonic youth looked at Temporal Temple Master in shock. Haha, I've already said that if I want to leave, the two of you won't be able to stop me. Goodbye. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. As soon as he finished speaking, he saw Temporal Temple Master grab Jian Wushuang with one hand. With a flash, he disappeared into the void. After Temporal Temple Master disappeared, the fast-moving void regained its calm. The evil-looking young man and the tall man both stood in the void with unsightly expressions, especially the evil-looking young man. He glanced at the void where Temporal Temple Master had disappeared and found that the traces of spacetime remained for a brief moment, but suddenly they were completely wiped out, and even he could not continue to chase after them. It seems that we have underestimated this Temporal Temple Master, the demonic youth said in a low voice. Although this Temporal Temple Master is only a primary ruler, his usage of spacetime energy is indeed extraordinary. In fact, he is much stronger than me. Just now, this demonic youth had actually fought head-on against the Temporal Temple Master. But the result of this battle was that the Temporal Temple Master had won. With a ruler realm expert who uses spacetime energy in such a profound way as a helper, it won't be so easy for us to continue attacking Heavenly Sword Marquis, the demonic youth said. That's true, but it's not as if we don't have a chance. After all, this time, it's just the two of us. Both of us are only elementary rulers, and the High Ruler who came with us this time is still on Sacred Island. That treasure is also with him, the tall man said. That's true. The evil-looking young man nodded slightly. Let's go back. The two rulers felt a little regretful that they could not kill Jian Wushuang, but they did not give up. Instead, they returned to the Sacred Island and began to think again. In the void, Temporal Temple Master also appeared quietly. After he appeared, Jian Wushuang immediately looked around, but he did not see the two rulers again. Don't worry. I've erased the traces of space while I'm moving. They won't be able to catch up, Temporal Temple Master said with a smile. Jian Wushuang heaved a sigh of relief and then bowed respectfully to Temporal Temple Master. Thank you for saving me, Temple Master. You're welcome. You're a subordinate of the Temporal Temple. It's my duty to save you. Temporal Temple Master waved his hand. Jian Wushuang also smiled, but then he asked, Temple Master, why are you here? Jian Wushuang was indeed puzzled. Haha, it's very simple. I arrived at the Wuxin Lake a few days ago. I originally planned to wait for you at the lake, but on the way, I sensed a strong energy fluctuation in the surrounding void. It must have been an expert at the ruler realm, so I went there to take a look. However, before I arrived, I sensed that you used my life-saving talisman. Temporal Temple Master paused for a moment and then said, I immediately understood that the ruler might be targeting you, so I used spacetime to come here. Is that so? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and then said in surprise, Wuxin Lake? You are the Temple Master's good friend? Chapter 3602. Return to Star Palace. Temporal Temple Master was the good friend that Star Palace Master invited to pick him up. This news surprised Jian Wushuang. Why, are you surprised? Temporal Temple Master smiled. Actually, it's nothing. Star Palace Master is the sect master of the 7-star mysterious sect. Since our Temporal Temple and the 7-star mysterious sect are in the divine beginning realm, we naturally have some connections. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath. He had met the Heaven Ancestor when he was in the Star Palace. Since the Heaven Ancestor could stay in the Star Palace all year round, he naturally had a good relationship with the Star Palace. Temporal Temple Master and Palace Master Star Palace were also good friends, and it was obvious that they chose to stand on the Star Palace's side. This immediately caused many ideas to appear in Jian Wushuang's mind. Temple Master, you mentioned Devil Cloud Star Master to the two rulers just now. What sect does Devil Cloud Star belong to? Jian Wushuang asked again. This question, Temporal Temple Master pondered for a moment and said, this is extraordinary. I'll take you back to Star Palace first and then talk about it slowly. Okay. Jian Wushuang also nodded. He could also see that this so-called Devil Cloud Star was probably his most important enemy. Soon, the two of them started to return to Star Palace. With Temporal Temple Master leading the way, Jian Wushuang's speed was naturally many times faster. Just a year later, he had already walked out of Devil Smoke Valley and returned to Star Palace. Jian Wushuang stood alone in a magnificent palace in Star Palace. 3 figures slowly appeared in front of him. The 3 people standing on the far left were the Temporal Temple Master who had just brought him back to Star Palace. The one standing on the far right was a woodcutter wearing a simple black robe and a bamboo hat. This woodcutter was the Heaven Ancestor, Desolation Emperor, who had taught him how to master the destructive will. As for the person standing in the middle, he was dressed in a green daoist robe. His hair and beard were white, and he stood barefoot. He looked like an ordinary daoist, but he was such a daoist, however, he was qualified to stand in the middle of the three people. His invisible aura was obviously stronger than that of the temporal temple master and the heaven ancestor. Seeing the daoist in the middle, Jian Wushuang was shocked. Senior Xian Shen, oh no, it's Palace Master. Jian Wushuang immediately bowed respectfully. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, that was right. The daoist in the middle was Xian Shen, who had helped him to the divine beginning realm. At the same time, he was the Palace Master of Star Palace. Moreover, the Temporal Temple Master had personally admitted that Xian Shen was one of the 3 master-level experts of the 7-star mysterious sect, the sect master of the 7-star mysterious sect. Haha, little guy, we finally meet again. Daoist Xian Shen looked at Jian Wushuang with a gentle expression, as if he was basking in the sunshine. You disappeared in Devil Smoke Valley for almost 100,000 years. Even I thought you were dead. At that time, I was sad and disappointed, but fortunately, I survived and my strength increased so much. Haha, this is a big surprise. It seems that Xian Yu was right about you. You flatter me, Jian Wushuang said humbly. In the face of 3 masters, all of whom were legendary figures in the divine beginning realm, Jian Wushuang would never be able to defeat them, no matter how talented he was, not a hint of arrogance. Little fellow, know why I 3 people want to see you at the same time today? Daoist Xian Shen looked down. I don't know. Jian Wushuang shook his head. Actually, I didn't expect to see you so soon. I just didn't expect you to improve so quickly. In just 100,000 years, you've already reached the strongest level among Principal's masters. Moreover, you've already come into contact with Devil Cloud Star. Therefore, after careful discussion, the 3 of us decided to come to see you together. We'll tell you the whole story, including the battle that destroyed the 7-star mysterious sect and the biggest secret hidden in the divine beginning realm. Daoist Xian God's expression became serious. The biggest secret hidden in the divine beginning realm? Jian Wushuang was shocked. He raised his head and found that not only Daoist Xian Shen, but also Temporal Temple Master and Desolation Emperor had grave expressions on their faces. Jian Wushuang could not help taking a deep breath. He had been a man for 2 lifetimes. From his last life, he knew that he had a huge mission on his shoulders. But what was the mission, what he was going to do, and the specific reason for the destruction of the 7-star mysterious sect, he also didn't know about the secrets hidden in the 3 great holy regions and the divine beginning realm. He only knew that he had to do his best to increase his strength and make himself stronger as much as possible. He longed for the day when he was qualified to know all of this. And now, this day had finally arrived. He was finally qualified to know all of this. Little guy, you've been in the universe battlefield for so long, and you have some understanding of the universe. How much do you know about the universe's star worlds? Daoist Xian Shen asked. Star worlds? Jian Wushuang immediately replied, I only know that there are different levels of star worlds. For example, the divine beginning realm is a 3rd-grade star world, which is the most common one in the universe. A 3rd-grade star world will be counted as a chaos cycle from its birth to its self-collapse. Yes, what you know is common knowledge in the universe. However, there is one thing that you don't know, which is that there is an initial stage in the process of the birth of any astral world. We call this stage the initial stage, Daoist Xian Shen slowly explained. The initial stage is equivalent to a baby born a month before we humans are born. The body has not fully grown. At this stage, any bit of wind or rain can cause the baby to die or be severely injured. The same is true for the initial stage of the astral world. At that stage, the astral world hasn't started to give birth to any living beings. At most, it's just an embryo. The embryo is still very fragile. At this time, if an expert with a certain level of strength discovered the embryo, he or she would destroy it with a wave of his or her hand. This would cause the astral world to vanish before it started to give birth. The initial stage. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. He said directly, even if a powerful cultivator found the embryo of the astral world, he would not be so bored as to destroy it. After all, destroying an astral world is not beneficial to him. You're right. Daoist Shen nodded. Chapter 3603, Final Secret, Part 1. Under normal circumstances, no one would be so bored as to deliberately destroy an astral world embryo. This is because the astral world was born by the universe itself. Forcibly destroying an astral world embryo can be said to be a public confrontation with the laws of the universe. Although they wouldn't be punished at the time, in the future, their cultivation would more or less be hindered by the laws of the universe, and the gains wouldn't make up for the losses. However, the experts who found the astral world embryo by chance will not destroy it, but they can take it by force. The Daoist Shen said. Take it by force? Jian Wushuang was shocked. How is that possible? This is a huge astral world. How can we take it by force? It's very simple. Possession. The Daoist Shen said, you have to know that in the universe, an astral world is actually equivalent to a large life, and the consciousness of this life is the will of the heavenly Tao. The will of the heavenly Tao represents the consciousness of the astral world. Under normal circumstances, it has no feelings or thoughts, only knowing to follow the operation of the universal laws and maintain the circulation of the heavenly Tao. If the will of the heavenly Tao had already grown up, it would have formed a connection with the universal laws. Naturally, no one could shake it. However, in the initial stage, it's just an embryonic astral world. The will of heavenly Tao is too weak. If an expert comes to possess it, there is a certain possibility that the possession will succeed. Once the possession is successful, the will of heavenly Tao, which only knows how to operate according to the laws of the universe, will be directly erased. Instead, the cultivator's own consciousness will become the will of heavenly Tao in this astral world and control everything. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang's heart was in turmoil. The heavenly will of an astral world had no thoughts and no feelings. But the heavenly will of the divine beginning realm was obviously not like that. In other words, the heavenly will of the divine beginning realm is the consciousness of a cultivator. Was the divine beginning realm possessed by someone when it was still in its embryonic stage? Jian Wushuang said in a deep voice. Yes, that's right. Daoist Shen nodded slightly. Little guy, you should be able to tell that if the will of the heavenly Tao in the divine beginning realm doesn't have feelings or thoughts, then it's impossible for it to support the three saint realms. To put it bluntly, the three saint realms exist to allow it to better control the divine beginning realm. The three masters of the saint realm are the representatives of the will of the heavenly Tao in the divine beginning realm. But look at the other star realms around this territory, there's no such thing. Temporal Temple Master said. Jian Wushuang's heart sank. It was true that he had roamed the universe battlefield for a period of time, but he had some understanding of this territory. As far as he knew, the other astral worlds in this territory were completely dominated by the cultivators themselves. There was no heavenly will at all. The heavenly will of the astral world was just to maintain the astral world's self-operation. Forcibly destroying an astral world embryo not only doesn't bring any benefits, but it will also be restricted by the universal laws in the future. Is it allowed by the universal laws to forcefully possess an astral world and take it as his own? Jian Wushuang frowned and said. No, forcibly possessing an astral world in the embryo will be punished by the universal laws in the future. Although it's not as strong as forcibly destroying an astral world embryo, possessing an astral world is not without benefits. On the contrary, it has incredible benefits, Daoist Shen said. Oh! Jian Wushuang was surprised. Little guy, you should know that the process of an astral world, even if it's only the lowest level 3 astral world, from the moment it's born, to its slow growth, to its self-destruction, is all related to the laws of the universe. If a cultivator possesses an astral world and it becomes the will of the heavenly Tao of this astral world, he can observe the evolution of the astral world from the closest distance, and he can also activate the unfathomable laws of the universe. This is a dream for any cultivator. Not to mention the Chaos Ruler, even legendary supreme existences yearn for it, Daoist Shen said. A supreme being? Jian Wushuang's expression changed, and he deliberately looked puzzled. A supreme being is a supreme expert who is above a ruler. He is a top figure in the entire vast universe. You haven't become a real ruler, so you may not have heard of this level, the Heaven Ancestor said. Is that so? Jian Wushuang was relieved, but he secretly smiled. In fact, he knew about the Supreme Being. When he met the Golden War God, Wind Demon, in that special space, he knew about the existence of the Supreme Being. Wind Demon was a Supreme Being, not to mention the master of planet Lingyun. However, he did not want others to know about his encounter. Therefore, when Daoist Xianshan mentioned the Supreme Being, he deliberately showed a puzzled look. Little guy, now you understand why someone would choose to possess an astral world rather than bear the conflict of the universal laws, right? Daoist Xianshan smiled faintly. To put it bluntly, the benefits of possessing an astral world are so great that he is willing to bear the conflict of the universal laws. I see. Jian Wushuang understood. Is the person who possessed the divine beginning realm that Devil Cloud Star Master? Yes, it's him. Daoist Xianshan nodded slightly. At the mention of the Devil Cloud Star Master's name, the three rulers' expressions turned extremely cold. The Devil Cloud Star Master is the will power of the divine beginning realm. We have paid a heavy price over the years and have long investigated the background of this Devil Cloud Star Master. Daoist Xianshan continued to explain. Devil Cloud Star is an incomparably mature second-grade astral world that has long since matured. In the entire astral world, there are no less than dozens of ruler-level experts, and they are extremely powerful. However, because Devil Cloud Star is quite far away from our territory, even a ruler-level expert would need at least tens of thousands of years to reach our territory at the fastest speed. Thus, under normal circumstances, Devil Cloud Star is unable to touch our territory. There are always exceptions. Our divine beginning realm just happened to encounter this accident. At that time, there was a ruler in Devil Cloud Star who had offended many experts and was forced into a desperate situation. Because he couldn't stay in Devil Cloud Star any longer, he chose to wander around. This wandering came to our territory, and coincidentally, he discovered the embryonic state of the divine beginning realm. You have to know that the astral world within the embryo is very well hidden. In addition, the void of the universe is vast and boundless, ordinary people wouldn't be able to encounter it at all. And this ruler who escaped from the Devil Cloud Star just had to be lucky. Chapter 3604, The Final Secret, Part 2, Sh*T luck? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. It's just Sh*T luck. It's really great luck. After all, the universe law knows that the embryonic stage is the most fragile during the process of nurturing the astral world, so it's also the most well protected. Ordinary cultivators, even if they spend a long time wandering in the universe, wouldn't be able to encounter such an astral world embryo. According to the rumors, there are some incredibly powerful autarch-level rulers who would go to great lengths to find an astral world embryo like this in order to increase their power. Autarch-level experts are far more skilled than rulers, but even so, they are often unable to find an astral world embryo like this even after hundreds or thousands of chaos cycles. In the vast universe, if an astral world embryo is found anywhere, countless experts will immediately come to fight for it. This fight is no less than a feast for experts. You can imagine how lucky you are to find such an astral world embryo, said Daoist Xianshan. Hearing Daoist Xianshan's words, Jian Wushuang could not help but be shocked. If what Daoist Xianshan said was true, even an expert at the supreme level could not find an embryo of an astral world even after searching for hundreds or thousands of chaos cycles in the universe void, then the ruler who was forced to come out of the demonic cloud planet. It was indeed a stroke of good luck to find the divine beginning realm, which was in the embryonic stage, in this territory. Not only is this ruler from Devil Cloud Star extremely lucky, but he is also very bold. After all, even in the embryonic stage of the astral world, it is extremely difficult for ordinary experts to possess it at its most vulnerable period. Under normal circumstances, only rulers have the possibility of possessing the astral world. Moreover, the success rate of possession is also very low. It is already considered good if 1 out of dozens of rulers succeeds in possession. However, once the possession fails, they will immediately suffer a backlash. Their souls will be destroyed and they will die. Therefore, if a ruler forcefully tries to possess the embryonic stage of the astral world, he will still have a slim chance of survival. In fact, it might even be better than that. As for the ruler who left Devil Cloudstar, he wandered in the universe void because he had no other choice. Now that he finally encountered an embryonic astral world, he tried to possess it even though he knew there was a slim chance of survival. In the end, he really succeeded. Daoist Shen Shen said. He could not help clenching his hands. Jian Wushuang was also secretly amazed. He had a little more respect for the ruler who had run away from Devil Cloudstar. Under the premise that he was wise enough to risk his life, he took the risk to possess the ruler. In the end, he succeeded. Although the ruler was his enemy, his luck, boldness, and decisiveness were still worthy of respect. After he took over the Divine Beginning Realm, his strength soared and reached a new level in a very short time. Then he left a trace of his consciousness in the Divine Beginning Realm, and his original body returned to the Devil Cloudstar. After returning to the Devil Cloudstar, he immediately defeated many of his former enemies with absolute strength. He even swept across the entire Devil Cloudstar world and made the entire Devil Cloudstar submit to him. He also became the Devil Cloudstar Master, Daoist Shen Shen said. Upon hearing this, Jian Wushuang smacked his lips. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. This was because at the beginning, this person was just a ruler who could not survive in the Devil Cloudstar and was forced to leave. He was a wanderer in the universe void. Such a ruler's strength was definitely not that strong, however, because he possessed the Divine Beginning Realm, his strength had suddenly grown to the point of sweeping across the entire Devil Cloudstar. It was clear how much help a cultivator would receive if he took over an astral world. What happened after that? Since the Star Master had already taken over the Divine Beginning Realm and obtained what he wanted, why did he attack the 7-star mysterious sect? Jian Wushuang asked. He didn't want to attack the 7-star mysterious sect in the beginning. After all, although he took over the Divine Beginning Realm, what he needed was the process of the Divine Beginning Realm's evolution. During this process, he could communicate with the laws of the universe and improve his strength by observing the complete evolution of an astral world. As for the internal affairs of the Divine Beginning Realm, it has nothing to do with him. Logically speaking, he should be able to maintain the operation of the Divine Beginning Realm like the normal will of the Heavenly Tao. As for the many cultivators in the Divine Beginning Realm, it doesn't matter whether he is an outsider or not. As long as the will of the Heavenly Tao works normally, the cultivators in the Divine Beginning Realm can accept him even if he created the 3 Saint Realms to be his spokesperson. However, the Devil Cloudstar Master is too ambitious. Daoist Shen Shen said in a low voice. Ambitious? Jian Wushuang was confused. He is ambitious. To be exact, he is too impatient. Of course, it is also possible that he is at the most critical stage of cultivation. For example, he is only one step away from becoming a supreme being. He paused. Daoist Shen Shen continued. He longed to break through to become a supreme being as soon as possible. For this reason, he spared no effort. Therefore, he forcefully accelerated the evolution of the Heavenly Tao in the Divine Beginning Realm. Speed up the evolution of the Heavenly Tao by force? How? Jian Wushuang was surprised. It's simple. He didn't hesitate to squeeze the potential of the Divine Beginning Realm and did everything he could to make the Divine Beginning Realm collapse. Naturally, he could experience the evolution of the astral world earlier so that he could gain more earlier. However, the damage to the Divine Beginning Realm would be too great, Daoist Shen Shen said. Jian Wushuang's expression turned solemn. Although he did not know what the consequences would be for the Divine Beginning Realm, it was not a good thing for the Divine Beginning Realm to accelerate the evolution of the Divine Beginning Realm and squeeze its potential. To speed up the evolution of the Divine Beginning Realm and squeeze it, it is to push the seedling to grow, and it is the most extreme way to push the seedling to grow. It is like a person who has a lifespan of 100 years forcibly increasing his growth speed and squeezing his potential. In the end, although he has lived his whole life, he may only live for 50 years, or even 30 years, or 20 years. Jian Wushuang was shocked. A person who could live for 100 years could only live for 20 to 30 years after forcefully accelerating his growth rate. In other words, if Devil Cloudstar Master does this, his lifespan in the divine beginning realm will be extremely short, and he won't be able to live for one chaos cycle at all? Jian Wushuang asked in surprise. Chapter 3605, The Final Secret, Part 3. Not only that, because the potential of the divine beginning realm has been greatly exploited, the number of geniuses and experts born in the divine beginning realm in the latter half of the process will be less and less. At most, it will be comparable to other level 3-star worlds, or even only 1/3 of the amount, said the Daoist Shen Shun. Is that so? Jian Wushuang suddenly understood. As I said before, if the Devil Cloudstar Master had allowed the divine beginning realm to operate according to the laws of the universe after he took over the divine beginning realm, the cultivators of the divine beginning realm would not have any objections. However, for his own selfish reasons, he did not hesitate to exploit the potential of the divine beginning realm, and his strong point was to accelerate the evolution of the divine beginning realm. The damage caused to the divine beginning realm was unimaginable. The cultivators of the divine beginning realm would naturally not be happy to see this. If you don't like it, the resistance will begin, Daoist Shen Shun said solemnly. The 7-star mysterious sect was already recognized as the number 1 force in the divine beginning realm. Naturally, the resistance began with the 7-star mysterious sect. However, the divine beginning realm was still in the initial stage of evolution. Its foundation was weak and its overall strength was weak. It could not pose any threat to Devil Cloudstar Master, until Shen Yi attacked. Master. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands. Yes, it's your master Shen Yi. Daoist Shen Shun looked at Jian Wushuang and smiled. Your master Shen Yi is the first perfect level lifeform born in the divine beginning realm. To be honest, it's extremely difficult to give birth to a perfect level lifeform even in a first-class astral world. Perhaps it's because the Devil Cloudstar Master squeezed too much of his potential that the cultivation environment in the divine beginning realm for a period of time has even exceeded that of a first-class astral world. It was also at that time that the divine beginning realm gave birth to several experts at the ruler realm, and a super genius like Di Shisan appeared. Your master Shen Yi was also born in that era. Originally, Devil Cloudstar Master did not pay much attention to the many experts born in the divine beginning realm, even if there were a few more rulers. After all, these rulers could hardly threaten him. However, when Shen Yi appeared and gradually rose to power, Devil Cloudstar Master sensed some threats. Why? Jian Wushuang was puzzled. Why can't so many rulers threaten the Star Master, but Master can? Is it because he is a cultivator at the perfect life level? Yes, because he is a cultivator at the perfect life level. Daoist Shen Shun smiled. Little guy, I just told you that a ruler realm expert wants to possess a star world. If he fails, his soul will be destroyed on the spot. In other words, to possess a star world, the most important thing is to rely on the soul. Only a strong and powerful soul power can successfully take over an astral world. Moreover, this is only in the embryonic stage. However, because of the possession of the Devil Cloudstar Master, the divine beginning realm has already passed the initial stage and is now in the complete stage. At this time, even if a supreme-level expert forcibly takes over an astral world, he would not be able to shake the Devil Cloudstar Master at all. However, a perfect life-level cultivator is an exception. Little guy, you're also a cultivator at the perfect life level. Can't you guess the reason? Daoist Shen Shun looked at Jian Wushuang. It's the soul of a cultivator at the perfect life level. It's different from the others. Jian Wushuang exclaimed. Hearing this exclamation, not only Daoist Shen Shun, but the Temporal Temple Master and the Heaven Ancestor also laughed. Although they were not perfect life-level cultivators, they knew some of the mysteries of the perfect life level. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks Jian Wushuang himself was the owner of the perfect life level, so he was even clearer. He knew that a perfect life level cultivator had almost no weaknesses, and the most invincible one was the soul. The soul of a cultivator at the level of a perfect being was unbreakable. Even if his soul was destroyed on the spot and completely destroyed, He could easily recover to the peak by relying on his divine power in the next second, and this kind of recovery also consumed very little of his divine power. In other words, no matter who it was absolutely impossible to kill a cultivator at the level of a perfect being from the aspect of the soul. And to possess an astral world depended on the power of the soul. For an ordinary ruler or even a paragon to forcibly possess an astral world that had already grown up was simply courting death. However, a cultivator at the level of a perfect being was different. He could do so without any scruples. If he failed once, he would try 10 times. If he failed 10 times, he would try 100 times or 1,000 times. Even if the chances of him succeeding were slim, he would succeed one time after another. I understand now. I finally understand why my master can threaten the Star Master. I also understand that the 3 Saint Realms will kill me at all costs when they know of my existence. Once I grow up, I can indeed deal a fatal blow to the Star Master, which means that the heaven's will of the divine beginning realm will be dealt a fatal blow. Jian Wushuang said solemnly. Yes, that's right. Daoist Shen Shen nodded as well. However, your current level of power is still a bit too weak. Although your battle power is close to that of a ruler, your level of power is only at the level of a saint. A saint isn't even qualified to possess the divine beginning realm. Even if you break through to become a principal's master in the future, your master, Shen Yi, was also a principal's master in the past. He tried to possess the divine beginning realm 1,000,000 times, but he failed. Therefore, he came to the conclusion that even a perfect life-level cultivator must reach the ruler realm before they are qualified to refine the divine beginning realm. Must I reach the ruler realm? Jian Wushuang frowned slightly. For the current him, the principal's master realm might be close, but the ruler realm was too far away. Although his current battle power was close to that of a ruler, and once he broke through to become a principal's master, his battle power would definitely be comparable to that of a ruler. However, he was still very far away from truly becoming a ruler. You have to become a ruler, otherwise, you won't even have to try, Daoist Shenshin said in a low voice. Back then, your master was at the level of a principal's master, and he attempted to possess someone. He attempted to possess someone 1,000,000 times, but in the end, he still failed. However, this insane attempt to possess someone completely terrified the Devil Cloudstar Sec. That Devil Cloudstar Master was worried that your master would break through to become a ruler, which was why he immediately acted. He sent a total of 12 ruler realm experts from Devil Cloud, and even his true body personally acted. With lightning speed, he annihilated the 7-star mysterious sect and killed your master. Chapter 3606, Indirect Help. Jian Wushuang's heart trembled. Only now did he fully understand the reason for the true destruction of the 7-star mysterious sect. Indeed, the 7-star mysterious sect was destroyed because of Shen Yi. It was Shen Yi who made the Devil Cloudstar Master feel a great threat and wanted to kill him. The 7-star mysterious sect was also wiped out by the Devil Cloudstar Master because they tried their best to protect it. There was nothing we could do. At that time, the foundation of the divine beginning realm was too thin. In front of the Devil Cloudstar Master's peerless strength, there was no room for struggle at all. Thus, when the Devil Cloudstar Master gave the order, the 4 great divine races and the 8 directions celestial sect immediately responded. Although these sects and factions didn't know the secret of the Devil Cloudstar Master, the difference in strength was too great. They could only form a battle team like this. When that battle really broke out, our 7-star mysterious sect had already predicted the final outcome. That's why when we noticed the movements of the Devil Cloudstar Master, we immediately left behind many backup plans. Daoist Shen Shen slowly explained. First, the 3 great freedom alliances did not participate in this battle. After all, everyone in the divine beginning realm knows that Shen Yi is a member of the 7-star mysterious sect. The 7-star mysterious sect will not be able to escape this disaster, and it is unavoidable. However, the 3 great freedom alliances can only not participate in this battle and not stand on the 7-star mysterious sect side. Then, the Devil Cloudstar Master should not attack the 3 great freedom alliances. Secondly, Xian Yi immediately prepared a plan to rise up in the future. This plan was very crazy. At that time, everyone thought that it was almost impossible to succeed. However, because Devil Cloudstar acted too suddenly and completely sealed off the entire divine beginning realm, Xian Yi was no longer able to escape. Although the chances of success of this plan were very slim, it was still a glimmer of hope. Fortunately, he made the right bet. Countless cultivators in the 7-star divine realm sacrificed their lives to set up the formation for him. Daoist Shen Shen laughed. Formation? Palace Master, are you talking about the formation that has been sealing the 7-star divine realm? Jian Wushuang asked in a deep voice. After the battle, the 7-star divine realm was completely sealed by the formation. In his previous life, Jian Wushuang was born in the sealed divine realm, where he met the consciousness left behind by his master, Xian Yi. After obtaining a great opportunity, his master finally acted and reincarnated into the divine beginning realm. Although he had been in the divine beginning realm for a long time, deep in his heart, the sealed heaven and earth, the 7-star divine realm, or the eternal chaotic world, was his real home. Apart from the formation, what other formation is there? Daoist Shen Shen smiled. That grand formation was something I acquired by chance from the cosmic battlefield. It was of an extremely high level, and it was executed by several of us rulers at the same time. In addition, countless cultivators in the 7-star divine realm sacrificed their lives to create this blood essence power, which was why it was set up. Once this formation was set up, even planet Devil Cloudstar Master wouldn't be able to break it open. After all, although his power is monstrous, and the heavenly Taos of the divine beginning realm have always been within his control, the unseen laws of the universe have caused his true body to be restricted by his power in the divine beginning realm. He wouldn't be able to unleash his full power, and he wouldn't be able to break open this grand formation at all. This left us with hope of rising to power. You know what happened next. Even though your master, Xian Yi, died, the consciousness he left behind in the sealed 7-star divine realm spent countless years and effort to perfect the technique again and again. Finally, you were born. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang clenched his hands. He knew that his master had sacrificed too much for him to obtain the perfect chaotic creature. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, he had nurtured the green fire world with his own blood essence and tried step by step. Finally, he appeared. Although he succeeded in inheriting his master's perfect life in the end, he had put in a lot of effort in the process. However, it was mainly because his master had prepared too much for him. After you were born, everything went according to plan. He borrowed the opportunity of the 3 great Saint Realm Masters to barely open the sealed heaven and earth and sent you into reincarnation to the divine beginning realm. In fact, the reason why the 3 great Saint Realm Masters were able to open the passage was because we helped them in the dark. As soon as you were born, I came to pick you up. As for the rest of your growth, it was all done by you, step by step, until today. At this point, Daoist Shen Shen stopped and looked at Jian Wushuang. Temporal Temple Master and Heaven Ancestor also stared at Jian Wushuang. There was a trace of joy in their eyes. Jian Wushuang did not know that from the moment he was born in the divine beginning realm, his every move and his growth had been seen by the 3 of them. They had been watching Jian Wushuang and his growth. However, other than the appearance of Daoist Shen Shen, the Temporal Temple Master and the Heaven Ancestor had been in the dark. Even if they had helped him along the way, they had never told him the specific reason. It was not until now that the 3 of them appeared in front of Jian Wushuang and told him everything, that Jian Wushuang finally understood. Now I finally understand why the Temple Master treated me so well before, Jian Wushuang muttered to himself. Temporal Temple Master, when he was in the Temporal Temple, he personally taught him for 300 years and gave him a life-saving token. On Sohar Island, Temporal Temple Master came to his rescue personally. At that time, Temporal Temple Master was so good to him that many people were puzzled. Jian Wushuang himself was the same. Temporal Temple Master was the same, so was the Heaven Ancestor, and so was the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master, who had never shown his face. After all, the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master was the first to give Jian Wushuang an opportunity. He had never entered the core level of the Heaven-Cleaving Union, but the Heaven-Cleaving Union made an exception and allowed him to enter the Heaven-Cleaving Secret Realm, it was something that countless genius disciples of the heaven-cleaving union yearned for. Not only that, but the 3 palace masters of the heaven-cleaving union had also given him a lot of benefits, such as the token of the 2 palace masters and the token containing his doppelganger that the heaven-cleaving alliance master had personally refined. Even the most outstanding and potential geniuses in the heaven-cleaving union would not receive such treatment. However, Jian Wushuang, an outsider, did. There was also the Heaven Ancestor. Although the Heaven Ancestor Daoist sect had not given him much help when he was in the Divine Beginning realm, when he came to the universe battlefield and came to the Star Palace, the Heaven Ancestor had met him in person. Afterwards, he had personally taught him axe techniques, given him opportunities, and allowed him to directly grasp the will of destruction, allowing him to completely comprehend the principles of destruction. All of this was indirectly helping him. Chapter 3607, Requirements Few. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath and bowed solemnly. Thank you. After knowing everything, Jian Wushuang knew that he had received a great favor from the people in front of him. Jian Wushuang had to hurry up and remember this favor. Haha, little guy, you don't have to thank us. After all, we are helping ourselves and the entire Divine Beginning realm. Although the Divine Beginning realm has reached the middle stage due to the accelerated evolution of the Star Master, as long as you can take it back, the Divine Beginning realm can still be saved, Daoist Xian said seriously. Moreover, it's different from the last battle. Our Divine Beginning realm's foundation was too weak, and the arrival of the Devil Cloud Star Master and his subordinates was too sudden. As a result, we didn't have much power to resist. However, it's different this time. From the end of that battle until now, a long, long time has passed. Even I can't remember how long it has been. And from the end of that battle, we've started to make plans for today. We've been preparing and waiting for the right time. Even now, the power we have in our hands is still not comparable to Devil Cloudstar, let alone fighting him head-on. But, if Devil Cloudstar Master comes again, our Divine Beginning realm will not be powerless to resist. We are even confident that we can protect ourselves. Protect ourselves. Jian Wushuang was stunned. He did not expect that even after preparing for so many years, Daoist Xian and the others could only barely protect themselves. It's already good enough that we can barely protect ourselves. At least this time, we won't be completely defeated. As long as we can protect ourselves, we will be able to counterattack. For us, the biggest counterattack is nothing more than breaking through to the ruler realm and then taking over the Divine Beginning realm again. Daoist Xian's voice was solemn. Once you take over the Divine Beginning realm again, the Divine Beginning realm will be under your control. At that time, as long as the experts from the outside world enter the Divine Beginning realm, you can try your best to suppress their strength to an extremely low level. On the other hand, you can choose not to suppress the local experts like us. Under this situation, the people from Devil Cloudstar will not dare to step into our Divine Beginning realm again. Yes, as long as you can take back the Divine Beginning realm, we will win this battle. Temporal Temple Master nodded heavily. That's true. However, if I want to take back the Divine Beginning realm, I have to be at least at the level of a ruler. But now, I'm far from the ruler realm. Jian Wushuang frowned. A ruler had to completely comprehend the 4 principles, and he had to completely fuse the 4 principles. However, he had only comprehended 3 principles, and if he fused them together, he would only be able to fuse 2. He was still far from breaking through to become a ruler. Furthermore, he was a cultivator at the level of a perfect being, and the level of a perfect being was limited by the principles of the universe. The conditions for breaking through might be much more difficult than ordinary cultivators. For example, from the Immortal Saint to the Principles Master. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, an ordinary Immortal Saint could make a breakthrough as long as he completely comprehended one principle and grasped a part of the power of his will. However, he had already comprehended 3 principles and merged 2 principles, but there was still no sign of a breakthrough. Therefore, Jian Wushuang was worried that after he became a Principles Master, it would be much more difficult for him to break through to the ruler realm than for ordinary cultivators. You're still far from the ruler realm, so you should try your best to improve your strength. What we need to do is to do our best to help you improve your strength. Daoist Shen Shen said in a low voice, "Little guy, you've made it clear. You know how important you are to us, so you don't need to be polite or pretentious. If you need anything that can help you improve your strength, just tell us. We'll do our best to help you. Yes, not only in terms of cultivation, but also all kinds of treasures and supreme treasures. If you need anything, you can tell us directly." Temporal Temple Master also nodded. As for the Heaven Ancestor, he was also very determined. The three of them knew that Jian Wushuang was the only one who could save the divine beginning realm from danger. What Jian Wushuang needed to do was to improve his strength as much as possible and reach the ruler realm as soon as possible. What they needed to do, of course, was to help Jian Wushuang become a ruler. As long as Jian Wushuang could become a ruler as soon as possible, they would do anything. Taking a deep breath, Jian Wushuang stopped being unreasonable and said directly, "Seniors, I do need something now." "Speak." Daoist Shen Shen looked over. "First of all, there are some rare treasures. Here is the list. Take a look first." Jian Wushuang took out a list of treasures. The treasures on the list were necessary for him to cultivate the first level of the Supreme Eternal Celestial Body. Although there were only 6 of them, they were extremely rare. Before he obtained the Supreme Eternal Celestial Body, Jian Wushuang had never even heard of these 6 treasures. Therefore, although he took out the list of 6 treasures, he did not know if Daoist Shen Shen and the others could collect all of them. Sure enough, after seeing the 6 treasures on the list, Daoist Shen Shen, Temporal Temple Master, and Heaven Ancestor's expressions changed immediately. "Little guy, each of the treasures on the list is indeed extremely rare. There are none in my Star Palace. Even including the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, Temporal Temple, and Heaven Ancestor Daoist Sect, there are only 2 of them." Daoist Shen Shen sighed softly. "Is there no way to collect all of them?" Jian Wushuang frowned. "That's not the case." Daoist Shen Shen changed the topic. "We already have 2 of the 6 treasures. We know where to get 3 of the remaining 4 treasures, and we are confident that we can get them. The last one, the Netherfire Blood Crystal, is a bit troublesome. I've heard that someone has obtained the Netherfire Blood Crystal, but it has been tens of millions of years. I don't know whether the news is true or not. Even if it is true, I can't confirm who has it. However, I can contact the experts who might get the Netherfire Blood Crystal. I'll get it no matter what the price is," the Heaven Ancestor said in a deep voice. "How long will it take?" Jian Wushuang asked. Chapter 3608, The Supreme Treasure. Within 100 years, the Heaven Ancestor said, "The key is to find out who has the Netherfire Blood Crystal. As long as we can confirm it, it'll be easy. We can think of other ways to exchange for it. If the other party doesn't agree, then we'll use force. No matter what, there will be a result within 100 years." Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. He was willing to wait for 100 years. "In addition to the treasures on this list, I also need an offensive magic weapon, one above the Pinnacle Universe Supreme Treasure," Jian Wushuang said. "A magic weapon?" Daoist Shen Shen and the other 2 looked at each other in dismay. They were not surprised by this request. They all knew that the magic weapon Jian Wushuang used before was only at the Advanced Universe Supreme Treasure level. Even if he killed 9-sword Demon Master and obtained the Supreme Treasure in his hands, it would only be a top-tier Universe Supreme Treasure magic weapon. Top-tier Universe True Treasures, for Principal's Masters, they were indeed rare treasures. However, Jian Wushuang's strength had already exceeded the scope of Principal's Masters, and he had already begun to make contact with rulers. A top-tier Universe True Treasure alone was definitely not enough. "It's easy to use a magic weapon. There's a top-tier Universe True Treasure magic sword in my Star Palace True Treasure Vault that I can give you directly. However, it's only a top-tier Universe True Treasure. Is it enough?" Daoist Shen Shen said with great interest. Jian Wushuang was stunned. Was he going to use a Pinnacle Universe Supreme Treasure? Was Daoist Shen Shen going to give him a Pinnacle Universe Supreme Treasure? As if seeing through Jian Wushuang's thoughts, Daoist Shen Shen smiled. In fact, I have been paying attention to the most powerful supreme treasure magic weapon that is suitable for you. After all, you will grow up sooner or later, and when you grow up, you will definitely need to use a suitable and powerful supreme treasure. However, it's a supreme treasure after all, and it's too precious. Most rulers in this territory don't have a supreme treasure with them. As for the sword-type supreme treasure that is suitable for you, I know that a person has one and he doesn't need it, so we can exchange it with him.
Oh!
Jian Wushuang's eyes suddenly lit up. Don't be happy too early. I just said that there is a chance, and it is very small. Because the ruler who has the sword-type supreme treasure is not only extremely powerful, but also much stronger than the three of us. He is also the leader of a major force and has a very high status. Although he has the most powerful sword-type supreme treasure, he has never taken it out to exchange for other treasures. He has left it for his juniors. If we want to exchange for it with him, we will definitely have to take out something that will move his heart. However, the main point is that in this territory, there aren't many treasures that can move him. Daoist Shen Shen sighed softly. The temporal temple master and the heaven ancestor obviously knew who the ruler was. They both looked a little helpless. They were very clear about his strength and status. It could be said that the ruler was one of the most powerful people in this territory. It was not easy to impress such a super existence with treasures in exchange for the strongest sword-type magic weapon in his hand. It was indeed not easy. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks, there's no need to rush this supreme treasure magic weapon. It's enough for me to have a supreme universe supreme treasure magic weapon now. As for the supreme treasure magic weapon, I'll think of a way later, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Well, that's it for now. You can go to the supreme treasure vault and use the supreme treasure first. Daoist Shen Shen nodded. The attack magic weapon can be taken care of temporarily. As for the supreme treasure armor, I see that the armor you're wearing now is of a high level. Daoist Shen Shen looked at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang could not help but smile. I have indeed gained a lot during my years in Devil Smoke Valley. This supreme treasure armor is one of them. Without this armor, my battle strength would never have exceeded that of an expert at the pinnacle of the sixth realm. What he said was the truth. The reason why he was so powerful and was able to sweep through the pinnacle of the 6 levels was largely because of the tremendous power that the Blood Demon Cave armor had given him, which made him much more powerful than the average pinnacle of the 6 levels. Without the Blood Demon Cave armor, he would be very powerful, but at most, he would only be comparable to the average pinnacle of the 6 levels. It would be impossible for him to sweep through the pinnacle of the 6 levels. It's already good enough to have a top-tier supreme treasure armor. Even the few of us only have this level of supreme treasure armor. As for the supreme treasure armor, we don't have it, so we can't get it for you. Daoist Shen Shen spread out his hands and said. Jian Wushuang smiled. It was understandable. The supreme treasure armor in terms of attack alone was extremely precious, and the supreme treasure armor was something that many rulers would go crazy over. There were probably only a few such supreme treasure armors in this territory. All of them were in the hands of the most terrifying experts. It was too difficult for Star Palace to get one. However, Jian Wushuang was not in a hurry. After all, although he did not have such a supreme treasure now, he must not forget that the 3 battlefields were a huge treasure trove in front of them. There were countless supreme treasures and many opportunities. Who knew if he would be lucky enough to get 1 or 2 of them in the future? The problem of the supreme treasures has been temporarily solved. What else do you need? Daoist Shen Shen looked over. I still need some things that can help me integrate the destruction principles, especially the destruction principles, space-time, and reincarnation principles. The more treasures I can use for reference, the better, Jian Wushuang said solemnly. Oh, are you finally going to integrate the 3 rules? Temporal Temple Master said slowly. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. Before, I had only grasped the destruction rules, so I couldn't integrate them with the other 2 rules. But after being trapped in the special space-time in Devil Smoke Valley for nearly 100,000 years, I've made some progress in the principles. If I integrate them now, I won't be able to do so. But as long as I have some time and some treasures that I can use for reference, I should be able to integrate the 3 principles. Once all three principles are fused, he'll be able to break through and become a principles master. Jian Wushuang could not help holding his hands. Principles master. Under normal circumstances, he should have broken through a long time ago, but because he was a perfect being, he had been stuck there. He had been working hard before, but he was still far from fusing the three principles. Now, he was close to fusing the three principles. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.